Hello and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation for Bebe. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, and communications, as well as moderator for this conversation. We're very pleased to be joined by the director of Bebe, Cristina Sánchez Salamanca. Cristina is a Bogota, Colombia-based director and screenwriter that specializes in fiction and commercial content. Her film Baby, which you just saw, premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival and continues to screen at festivals worldwide. Hello, Cristina, and welcome.
Hi, Eric. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you as well, and thank you for sharing this important work with us. But before I talk to you about this film, I understand you are fluent in Spanish, and sometimes we have students that watch these interviews and that are studying Spanish. Can you say a special hello to them in Spanish?
Of course. Hola, bienvenidas y bienvenidos a este Q&A y muchas gracias por ver el cortometraje.
Well, thank you for that. I'm sure our Spanish students studying Spanish appreciate that. So the film Baby, is this film based on a personal experience in which you decided to create it?
Yeah, it's loosely based on my childhood, but I think it's more and more common for it not to be like autobiographical, which is something that with the movie After Sun, I was very relieved when I saw that work, and you can't feeling instead of the story itself. So I did feel in my childhood, everything that the character is going through, but the facts were very different. There was never a birthday party. There was a dog, but nothing happened to the dog in real life. But I just drew inspiration from the different elements in that period, which made me feel that way, and tried to find the best story to convey that message.
So you were actually Nina, I guess, in a film. Is
Yes.
that okay?
Yeah.
And you experienced I guess the feeling of alienation, when a new family, when you received a new sibling.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And especially there was a dog, a dog was involved with the a puppy was involved.
Yeah, I mean, my dad did give he was actually a boy, my stepbrother, he gave him a puppy. And I just remember how that gutted me. And that was just one specific event, from several in which everyone just really played along with the happy family, motif. And I wasn't quite able to get along with it. And I felt very alienated and had a very strained relationship with my father at that point because I didn't, fit in with this new family. And yeah, I just found this specific story to kind of summarize that whole period in the most effective way possible.
Yeah. Did you not in the film, Nina did not open up when she was being asked what's wrong, and she wouldn't open up. Were you the same way and not opening up?
Yes, I was like for that entire period of my life, which was brief, but when you're 12, 4 years feel like an eternity. And yeah, it took me a while to learn to open up and to share my feelings. But because I was so closed in, which I do feel is one of the important messages here, when you close up that way, it ends up, going out someplace else, or somehow else it can be, in Nina's case, she just kind of loses control of her rational self. In my case, I actually ended up having a thyroidectomy. My thyroid was removed because I developed a series of not so good looking nodules, like pre-tumors. And it's very interesting that they formed right where, words got stuck. So I definitely learned to communicate much better after that. But it was definitely not helpful at all for me to become such a closed-in child with so many, I wouldn't say like violent, but definitely very strong feelings. And I feel like children, especially nowadays, are even more closed in. And I do feel that does have an important effect on you, both mentally and physically.
So, well, why were you closed in? Why do you think children were closed in? Why not just say, you're paying more attention, you're not paying as much attention to me? What was the reason for not opening up more?
I've never been asked that. It's a very good question. I can't speak for all children. I think I can speak from me. I guess in my case, because it was like a nasty divorce, and there was like it wasn't the best separation. There wasn't any co-parenting or anything at that time. So I feel it just played out more like sides, and you have to either choose to be on your mom's side or on your dad's side. And I guess since a part of me felt that that side wasn't mine, it wasn't the place where I could feel heard. I was verbal in how I did not like being in that family. I didn't really like my stepmother at the time. It was very classic divorce. And the few times that I did open up, I feel like my father became very defensive, which is what happens in the story. When you as a parent feel guilty, anything that points out or makes you feel like you're not doing a good job as a parent, I feel it might lead, to being defensive and not listening. So in Nina's case, or in my case at least, the few times that I would try to be verbal, it would just end in another confrontation, or it would become a different conversation. And in the end, I just thought it was better to shut it off completely.
Interesting you say that, shut it off completely. The ending of the film kind of left it open-ended.
Yeah, I love an open ending. That's
right.
That's my
that it right. So what did you want viewers to take away from this film, leaving it the way you did?
I think there's no such thing, especially with families, as like a happy ending. I feel from that day on, life will not be the same. It's not going to be dramatic or drastic, but Nina definitely learns to see a side of herself she didn't know. She says goodbye to what is, her closed in and maybe more innocent version, and she realizes what she can be capable of. And her father realizes the same. He realizes that the daughter he knew is no longer there. And I feel that's an important part of adolescence and life in general. You know your parent and you know your child, and one day they become a different person. And in this case, this is that moment, when a different person has come to the family. And this is like the first time that for many months or years, the father sees his daughter and realizes he's seeing a different daughter. And I don't think that's necessarily bad. That's just a process of growing up. But for me, that ending has a mixture of, a complicity between them. There is a sense of, we are father and daughter. And for me, that final look they give each other comes with some sort of acceptance of what is to come, and understanding that this isn't the end of that journey. I think it's the beginning.
Interesting, the beginning. I like that. Wow. I appreciate your candor and bringing this story to us as a way of, I guess, healing, and also
Yeah,
for other people to realize that they're not the only ones going through this who face
yeah.
similar situations. I appreciate that. But let's talk a little bit more about the production itself. Um, itself. Can you tell me the significance of the cake in the film?
I mean, I'm Latin American, and for us, food is everything. I'm actually Latin American and Lebanese, so like food is very important everywhere around me. And I just feel that food is one of the most organic and almost like animal ways how we express love. Um, and giving food to other people is a way of love. So for me, the cake represents this dual and shows how complex the relationship between her and her father are, because he is trying to give her love. But at the same time, she has this uh, problem with her body and with her image. So it just feels like a loaded love. It feels like a love that she is unable to accept. So it's very like literal and metaphorical at the same time. And I just feel that having a meal together is probably one of the best ways to. Sorry, it's just that I have my dog here and she's driving me crazy, and like you can see she's inspired.
Is that the same? No, that's not the same dog.
Yeah, it's the
It's a
same.
different
She's the
dog.
same
Same breed.
breed, but the other
Yes.
was a baby. But she's just. And yeah, sharing a meal together and having that piece of cake, for me, it's just her way of extending an olive branch and accepting her father's love uh in the way she knows how to, which is like enjoying a piece of cake with him in silence.
That's great. As I was watching this, I knew there was something more to it, and that's what I kind of ungathered. This is really well thought out. This is a film that you carry with you for years. When did you
Yes.
decide that, look, I need to make a film about this? About this. When did you decide to do that?
Well, it's actually I wrote a screenplay for a feature film, and this was one of the end sequences. And I wrote it like in 2018. I had been carrying around in my head for a while, and I was having trouble, landing the film, understanding what to do with it. And my producer suggested we make a short film about it. And we decided to do Baby, and we thought it would be an interesting exercise, to understand the character and the universe and to see if it actually works. And we did it, and it effectively did work. And what it did make me was to pivot the feature film, because I'm actually working on it right now and like applying for funds and trying to get it financed. But the story now is completely different, because I did feel that Baby really told the story of the father and the daughter very effectively. And after opening, the Pandora's box on this universe, I felt that that was just the tip of the iceberg, and there was so much more going on with Nina, and that was not explored in the short film. So that's actually where I'm going to right now.
I see. Uh, Getting more personal, has your father seen the film? What was his reaction to the film if he's seen it?
He saw it. He actually read the script of both the first feature film and this, and it was, very cordial. He's actually a TV producer, so he did have some sense of, okay, he knows what it is. But showing it to him, his reaction was very different. And it did like reopen a wound that we both thought had healed. And it made us, have some sort of confrontation, but it actually allowed us to speak from the heart. And he he acknowledged, like, I had no idea you actually felt that way. Like, I know you had a tough time. I didn't know it was that tough. And it's very difficult when you show people films or short films that are about them. And even though I know it was hard for him, I'm very lucky that he managed to process it and eventually accept it and support it.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's good to hear. Good to hear. And he this hopefully set the groundwork for your relationship to continue to flourish with him.
Yes. Yeah, of course it did.
Now, the film itself, you actually shot it in Bogota or somewhere nearby, or where did you shoot the film?
We shoot it in a very nearby town called Tocancipá. Here in Colombia, it's very normal. Like, we love to take a car and spend the weekend somewhere else. You just like even a day trip. And that was an important part of this story. Bogota is very urban. And it is this family who wants to take a car and go on a ride and go to a perfect house a couple hours away and pretend that it's going to be a perfect day for a perfect family. And there is this sense of you can take a car and go, but everything you're trying to leave behind is coming with you.
Interesting. So, with that shooting, how long did it take for you to shoot it?
We shot it in 4 days. It was pretty intense.
Okay. So, with that, so what about your actors? Did you have a casting on call, or did you know your actors?
I knew some of the actors at that moment. I didn't have that much money or time or resources. So, a friend of mine was the role of the stepmother, and then I worked in a TV series and I met the father and the stepsister. And we decided to just concentrate all of our efforts into finding Nina, which we're very lucky to have found her. We saw 100 girls at least. And she was literally the first one we saw. It always happens. It's the first one you see, then you go through everything, and in the end, it's her.
Wow, yeah, it's really like that. And what about the dog? How did you get the dog to behave on the set?
No, she's actually a friend of mine. A friend of mine is her dad, whatever. She's her, and he's very excellent at showing her tricks, and she's very educated. And she was a puppy at that time. She was 4 or 5 months old, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And he was really nice and came to the shoot every day for 12 hours and just waited. And he's actually one of the extras in the party. And I asked what can I give you in return? And in the end, we bargained. He didn't want anything, and we bargained on a dog, a doggy bed for her. It was the least we could do because she was the best and most behaved dog ever.
Exactly. I was just amazed at that. I said, "Oh my goodness, she got the dog to."
I don't know how I pulled that off. Yeah.
That's great. This is an emotional film for you to make. Is there anything that you wish you had to put in, left out, or you think it just turned out the way you wanted it to turn out?
I feel any director will always have doubts or regrets or, oh, I wish I had done this or that. There's definitely things I wish I could have shot differently, especially the first scene, the car scene. We just had very little time to do it, and shooting in cars is terrible, but I feel it's a part of the process to just, let it go and understand that's the way it came out and learn from all of those decisions you wish you had made and apply it to the next one, I guess.
Absolutely. And speaking of the next one, what is the next one for you?
It's the feature film of Baby I was telling you about. This is a project I've been working on, including the first feature film, Baby, and then the new version. It's been 6 years. So it's an actual baby that you take care of and you have to like nurture. And I'm hoping that in a couple of years we can, you know, bring it out to the world. It's a very different version of what you saw. It's actually now focused on Nina and the stepmother's relationship, which I think is much more interesting and complex. So I hope to speak to you about this project in a few years.
I hope so too, because I was curious about that relationship. I knew it was just strictly focused on Nina and her father, so that was interesting. And also, are there any other symbolic references in this film that you want to talk about besides like the cake and the nonverbal communication and so forth?
In general, I try to give everything you see in the frame a meaning. You know, why a character wears what they're wearing, or why the camera is where it is. I would maybe point out that for me, understanding that we're in Nina's world and it's her vision and her experience, I very much try to have the camera always at her level, which creates, you know, this effect that when adults are talking to her but not, you know, connecting at her level, they're standing up so their heads are cut out, which is, you know, a direct reference to, you know, Hanna-Barbera cartoons like Dexter's Lab and Powerpuff Girls, which I grew up in, which is like you have children's world, and in children's world, adults are just legs and extensions. And I really liked, you know, playing with that idea.
Well, great. Makes me and lots of viewers want to go look at it again. If you can get people to see something again and look for things, that's great. You're doing your job as a filmmaker.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there's always things you can discover. I think the best part of directing is you can give everything a meaning, and it doesn't matter if people see it or not, it's there. And it'll just make, you know, every time you see it, there's going to be something different to find.
Great. Well, great. Well, Cristina Sánchez Salamanca, thank you so much, Director of Baby.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you all the best. And before I let you go, can you say a special goodbye in Spanish to our students studying Spanish?
Of course. Yeah. Adiós. Espero que hayan disfrutado este conversatorio y que ojalá pronto pueda mostrarles más cosas que vienen. Un abrazo. Gracias.
Thank you. And
Thank you so much.
And thank you to our audience for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about upcoming film festivals, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.